Okay guys, this is a quick outline on how I'd like to see you start to use Pythagorean Theorem. This is a new mic, so hopefully the audio quality is pretty good. This one here, so remember we have three parts to a triangle. We have two legs, the A and the B, and then we have the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always the longest side. So the legs are always the ones that are attached to the 90-degree angle. Your hypotenuse is always directly opposite the 90-degree angle. Really important for you to locate that, because in our formula, C is always the hypotenuse. It's just the formula, that's how it works. So we're going to start with this triangle here. We're going to say that this is 5 centimeters and the other leg is, let's use 9 centimeters. So as we get started, I always want you to write down your formula, always. So we go a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now, I already have labeled a and b. It doesn't matter which leg you name. As long as you have the legs, you're good to go. So I'm going to go 5 squared plus 9 squared equals c squared. This is where knowing your squares up to 12 helps. So 5 squared is 25. 9 squared is 81 equals c squared. Just like in the other stuff we've been doing, if we don't do it, if we don't use it, just bring it down. 25 and 81, that's going to be 106. 106 equals c squared. Now this is the little thing we talked about quickly in class. Remember, our opposite of x squared is going to be square root. So when you square root something, it cancels out the square. We'll talk about this more in algebra, but when I have that square, I can't have that square there because I'm looking for the length of c, not the square of c. So what we're going to do is we are going to square root. That cancels out my square, and what I do to one side, I do to the other. So on a calculator, in the Khan Academy video that I posted, he does something called radicals. You don't need to worry about that. So I have 106. Oh, that does look okay. Then I hit the square root button. I get 10.29, so we're going to round that to 10.3. So my answer for this one, C equals 10.3 centimeters. I would also go in, put that back onto your list. This is the standard form of Pythagorean theorem, where we don't know the legs, we're looking for, or we know the legs, we're looking for the hypotenuse. Let's do one over here where we know the hypotenuse is 10. We know A is 7, but we don't know what the other leg is. So quick check, there's my 90-degree angle, my hypotenuse is across. I'm going to show you how to do this in kind of a way where you don't have to memorize anything else. Equals c squared. Now, like with all of our formulas, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to identify which variables we know. So here I know a squared is 7, so I'm going to write in 7 squared. I don't know what b squared is, but I do know what c squared is, 10 squared. This is 49 plus b squared equals 100. Now there's two really quick things as a review from algebra. The first one is to get rid of something from one side, I need to use the opposite operation. So here we're adding 49, so we need to subtract 49. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. We're trying to get b on its own. So here I'm going to minus 49 from both sides. 49 minus 49, that's going to cancel out. I'm now left with b squared equals 51. Now, question, how do I get rid of that square? You can say it out loud. I know it seems weird to talk to a recording, but you can. That's right, the opposite of square is square root. That cancels out my square. What I do to one side, I do to the other. B is now going to equal, we go 51 square root, 7.14 or 7.1 centimeters. So B is now 7.1 centimeters. Now, if you don't like doing it this way, If you find that confusing, I'm going to give you a new formula. And that formula you can use in place of a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So what we actually really did here is we took one of the legs and we subtracted it from c. So this is called your inverse Pythagorean theorem. Now this is when we know the hypotenuse and we're looking for one of the sides. So this is going to be a squared equals c squared minus b squared. Let's prove that this is going to work. See if we get the same answer. So now I'm going to use 7 as my b. So I know one of my legs is 7. A squared I don't know. C squared is 10 squared minus 7 squared. This gives me a squared equals 100 minus 49. A squared equals 51, just like we got over here. Now I square root both sides. A is going to equal 7.1 centimeters. So you can either do it this way where you're subtracting the leg, or you can use the inverse Pythagorean theorem. I hope that helps, guys, and we'll take a look at this next week. Good luck.